Well, while the world is focused on America's proxy war in Ukraine, there is another American proxy war unfolding in Ethiopia that doesn't get much attention. And now the war hit a bloody record this weekend with an attack leaving more than 200 people dead. According to witnesses, in some places, the death toll is even closer to 260 people. The attack was against people who are ethnic Amhara, but the attack occurred in Oromia region. Now, witnesses blame the Oromo Liberation Army, but that army denies it. They say the attack was committed by the regime's military and local militia as they retreated from their camp. So we thought we'd just give you a little reminder about how this war has been happening since November, has left thousands dead, hundreds of thousands displaced and starving. Ethiopia's Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, is Oromo. So you may recall that he received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019, but he is not known as a peacemaker now, since he is said to have launched this attack on the Tigray region. Now, Tigray was the dominant power before Ahmad came to power in 2018. Ethiopia previously had 10 different regions, each controlled by its own ethnic group. The election of Ahmad was supposed to have stabilized the region, but obviously not, right? So last year, Tigray held its own election, and the federal government called that illegal. Tigray said that that amounted to a declaration of war, and that war has become a reality.
Yeah, so look, there's a long history here of the United States using Ethiopia as a proxy territory, going back to, let's put up this is from the CIA, right? So this is the Ethiopian Revolution, the CIA memo on Ethiopia as the centerpiece of U.S. policy in Africa. And so it says, since World War II, Ethiopia has been the centerpiece of U.S. policy in the Horn of Africa. The Ethiopian Revolution that began in early 1974 as an army mutiny has moved stage by stage through a period of moderate reform. So basically saying this is yes, Ethiopia is the centerpiece of U.S. policy in the Horn of Africa for a reason, right? It's a reason because it gives us access to the oil. It gives us access to all of Africa in a way that strengthens the United States, military. It opens up all sorts of different training programs to soldiers in that area. The U.S. government has a long history of using Ethiopia as a training ground under this idea of peace forces. So the Clinton administration created Operation Restore, and basically would go there and we're going to restore this area by opening it up so that weapons manufacturers like Northrop Grumman can come in here and take advantage of this.
Meaning that separate regions controlled by separate tribes was ineffective for Western powers, so they had to consolidate. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm saying so. What they did was they said, we're going to open this up for privatization. So we're opening up Ethiopia for privatization. We're going to allow companies to come in and make investments in Ethiopia, right? That's under the Clinton administration. So what do? They basically say, we need people to come in and teach people how to use weapons and bring weapons in and systems. And so Northrop Grumman was one of the big ones that set up shop under the U.S. aid program in Ethiopia, which was like a private free-for-all where companies like Northrop Grumman set up shop, basically. And here is the U.S. aid objectives, right? So they're basically giving all of this money for education, agriculture, forestry, fisheries, health and sanitation, community development, social welfare, and mining and transportation, all under the guise of we're here as peacekeepers and helpers of this region.
Right. Well, I mean, but then are you saying, I guess I'm just asking for clarification, that these, what's the word that was used in that report? Can you put it back up? That these moderate reforms, then the pushing back against moderate reforms was that Ethiopia wanted to remain tribally controlled and that the United States does not want that? Because that's the crux of the region now, of the conflict now, is that Tigray wants to maintain its ethnic control, and the federal government says that's not how it works here anymore.
Right. I mean, don't make no mistake about it. The federal government of Ethiopia is a proxy. Is a proxy for the United States. It's in many ways, supported. Now they've gone off far afield from where we wanted them to be, like good little soldiers. So now, Antony Blinken, I guess we don't really know who we support at this point. We're just going to continue to funnel arms here into this region. Here's Anthony Blinken. The U.S. State Department released a statement on this, saying the United States has deepening concerns about the ongoing crisis in Ethiopia's Tigray region, as well as other threats to the sovereignty, national unity, and territorial integrity of Ethiopia. People in Tigray continue to suffer human rights violations, abuses, and atrocities, and urgently needed humanitarian relief is being blocked by the Ethiopian and Eritrean militaries, as well as other armed actors. Oh, interesting. So let's just unpack that point for a moment here. Where do they get these weapons? Where do they get these weapons from? Us, the United States.
Replace all of those words. Replace every one of the words where they're saying the name of the place and replace it with Venezuela. It sounds like the exact same narrative.
Oh yeah, or any of the countries that we've propped up. And so an Ethiopian journalist was interviewed about this last night, about this new. He makes the Hydra point, right? When you just cut off the head over here, and that's what happens with these. So when we prop up these regimes, and we claim to, and then we're killing all these civilians, right? So now we're funneling money to the federal government of Ethiopia, where then they are killing the Tigray civilians, not just Tigray.
Well, because their marching orders are to unify and not allow for tribal integrity.
Right. So we're going to kill the Tigray people and
because
terrorists.
we can't, because they won't come in
to our fold, right?
Yeah.
We need them to be a part of this, but they don't want to be. So we're just going to bomb them.
Well, they do say that it is in retaliation for an attack on a military base back in November.
Of course.
But, the school, how long do you retaliate? For 6 months?
Well, I
7
love
months?
this idea that, so for how long are you attacked by people and then you fight back and you're the bad guy? Like, this is the same thing we see in Syria. This is the same thing so wait a minute.
This is Israeli-Palestine,
Yeah, but we always take sides. We're taking, so the Tigray people, they fought back after being bombed routinely. So anyway, this journalist lays out the point exactly. It's like a Hydra. So you cut off the head of one piece of this and they're going to pop up again, because that's what happens when you fight these proxy wars. Listen.
But it's been a challenging few years to Ethiopia and Ethiopians. There was an attack last week in Gambela, where a majority of the city was overpowered by Oromo Liberation Front, which the government has accused of being a terrorist organizations. And these organizations, when they're defeated somewhere else, they tend to react in other parts of Ethiopia, as we've seen yesterday, this last weekend, which again, at least 230 Amhara people of Ethiopia were killed.
Oh, shocking. So the U.S. Army's Africa Combined Joint Task Force, CJTF-HOA, which is based in Stuttgart, Germany, launched a Train the Trainer program to arm 200,000 soldiers there. That could only go well, right? Because everything we do when we get our hands on these, and we arm people who want to do our bidding so that we can solidify power in this region to protect like shipping lanes and oil and everything else, right?
Well, and generally, remember, we usually arm both sides. We don't just arm the people that we want to win. We arm both sides so that we can further the conflict. We've done that in many countries.
Oh, for sure. And we've certainly seen that. And yeah, we've certainly seen that. And then we're shocked. We're shocked that they start to fight against each other or back against us. So here's the mentoring program in Ethiopia. This is the U.S. Army's mentoring program here on your screen, based in Stuttgart, right? And this is exactly what they do, the trainer program, to arm 200,000 soldiers. But meanwhile, the Congressional Research Service, which is right here on your screen, acknowledges that abuses against civilians in Tigray by government-aligned forces have reportedly fueled insurgent recruitment. So to exactly this journalist's point, right? The congressional research in the United States acknowledges that abuses against civilians, i.e. we're funneling arms, we've set up where the federal government of Ethiopia is attacking these people, that by aligning those forces, they've reportedly fueled insurgent recruitment.
Well, I would just like to
I just
end
did
this
a small
piece with a highlight of the media coverage of it at this point is this number of civilians reported dead is the same number as many conflicts in Ukraine. And I would like to just point out to you, how often will you see coverage of this which is awful and bloody and hurting normal people, right? Compared to the conflicts we are now seeing in the Ukraine region.
You won't. It's not on the front pages of any. I looked through a number of different newspapers today. I didn't see any coverage of Ethiopia.
I mean, it's very buried, and so every time we see something like this, it deserves our equal attention.
And we will bring it to you here on
and
the
I
show.
just wanted to point out, I did a calculation, and I figured just at $300 per weapon, that's $60 million. And I know $300 is way low, but that's $60 million in weapons to that group. So you figure like these arm manufacturers are constantly just raking in cash from all the weapons that we're sending all over the world.
Well, yeah, and we've seen as in Ukraine, of course, there is all of the black market weapons now too. So we've been funneling, 30 javelins and all sorts of things that are winding up on the black market for $30,000 a javelin as well.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.